November 2002 years. The famous Russian yachtsman Fyodor Konyukov crosses the Atlantic Ocean alone. In the area of the Bermuda Triangle, he encountered an unexplained phenomenon. Suddenly, the sun disappeared. In the ensuing semi-darkness, Konyukov saw powerful rays of light rushing into the sky from under the water. When he tried to approach one of them, a huge wave appeared on the flat surface of the ocean and overturned the boat. And a few days later, the world was shocked by the discovery of American oceanographer Valery Uvarov. 2 underwater pyramids have been discovered in the Bermuda Triangle. The coordinates of the mysterious rays and the underwater pyramids completely coincided. Where is the center of the world? The Himalayas, between China and India. There stands the sacred Mount Kailas. You can believe in this legend, or you cannot believe it, but something else is interesting. According to one hypothesis, Kailash has an artificial origin, and is the largest pyramid on Earth. Its height is 6,666 meters. The faces are clearly oriented to the cardinal directions, and there are 108 small pyramids around. Who, when, and why built this giant stone complex? Pyramids occupy a special place in the work of the artist Viktoria Preobrazhenskaya. You bet. Before the trip to Egypt 15 years ago, the woman did not know how to draw, compose music, and did not even think of writing poetry, although she dreamed of the pyramids of Giza long before history lessons. And when these lessons began, the girl could tell more about the structure of the pyramids than any teacher. Where does this knowledge come from? Vic didn't understand. She knew one thing she needed to touch her dream.
I was waiting for this time, when some real changes should happen in my life. And I actually tuned in and was in a hurry to do everything in time. And in the end, it happened.
According to a tourist voucher, Victoria and her husband ended up in Egypt. As soon as she entered the Pyramid of Cheops, she immediately felt an incomprehensible change.
I entered a state of, one might say, a deep trance, an exit from my body. I came out in a thin body, and I got caught. The plates parted, and I got into the era of the lion. That's 13,000 years ago.
The surrounding people disappeared. Creatures in strange clothes entered the room. Vika still didn't understand who it was. But from the very sight of them, the anxiety passed, and the soul became warm and calm. They were family.
They were very tall, beautiful, fit people, blue and green eyes. They were dressed in such space suits. There were silver and golden attributes. Cosmic ray, Anki, Ark of the Covenant. All this device was brought on a Vimani ship, which landed on the plateau of present-day Giza.
But the most amazing thing is that Victoria recognized herself in the approaching face of the goddess Isis. Isis, Osiris, Horus, Tod, Seth. Preobrazhenskaya is convinced, under the names of the Egyptian gods, information about the representatives of the unearthly race who really existed on Earth has reached the present day. They came to Earth from one of the planets of the Sirius system. Their mission is to help our planet recover after the terrible flood.
It was just a period of disaster, and after that, when the water came down, these cosmic Syrian gods were the first aliens who began to explore the Earth. The cosmic Vimana has landed, a spaceship. I was on board this ship, and when we came down to Earth, the first thing we did was to unfold the plan of the megalithic structure of the planet Earth.
In accordance with this plan, many megalithic structures appeared along the 30th meridian of the planet. Pyramids were installed in zones of tectonic faults and were technical installations. The task is to stabilize the Earth's rotation axis and communicate with deep space.
In general, the Ask Pyramid was a cosmic gateway to the sky. It was through the Ask that, when we completed our program on Earth, we went to our stars.
However, some of the Syrians remained on Earth for a long time, passing on the knowledge of their civilization to mankind. It is their names that have been preserved in the myths of Egypt, Greece, the Maya, Tibet, and China. Victoria regained consciousness near the sarcophagus.
When I came back, first of all, I still want to remember that everything shook me, as if a current was passed through me, and tears flowed like hail. That is, I took it all so well, and nostalgia for the past went. And when my inclusion had already taken place, the Syrians gave me a certain experience and a program so that I would carry it to Earthlings as information, as cosmic knowledge.
After a trip to Egypt, a woman who did not know music and did not have an art education began to write paintings, poems, and published a dozen music albums. Victoria has encrypted information from above in her works. The fingers themselves create music, and the hand with the brush paints pictures without any of her participation. Mexico, the Aztec calendar. To compile such an accurate calendar, it is necessary to observe the stars for at least 10,000 years. The Indians have never hidden their knowledge of space, schemes of lunar cycles and eclipses, information about the atmosphere of Venus, and the orbits of distant planets were given to them by the gods who descended from heaven. The stone, the Aztec calendar. This is where science fiction really begins, because telescopes and chronometers are needed to create an accurate calendar. The Maya and Aztecs had no chronometers or telescopes, and yet their calendar is very accurate. This inclines to the fact that there were two civilizations on Earth after all, we and much more developed, and so she gave Maya this one. Or the Aztecs have this calendar. The calendar consists of 3 wheels rotating relative to each other. Having solved this secret, scientists were able to decipher and translate the dates of the Aztecs into a modern account. A month, according to the May calendar, consists of 13 days, and a year of 20 months, that is, 260 days. And only the outer wheel contains the Earth's 365 days a year. It feels like it was specially added to work on our planet. The system itself was born in a world where a year consisted of 260 days. The Mayan calendar has been counting the days for more than 3,000 years, and ends on the 21st of December, 2012 year. Perhaps this is the date of the coming apocalypse. But in May we are the 5th civilization, or, as they say, the 5th sun. And the previous 4 disappeared somewhere. No wonder there is a myth about the flood. There is a myth about how Sodom and Gomorrah were committed, fiery, gray, from the sky. Maybe these civilizations were. The aliens didn't like them. They destroyed them. In search of traces of unearthly civilizations, Andrei Sklyarov traveled all over the continents. There are indeed such traces on the ground. Here is the Pyramid of Unas in Saqqara. If you look at it carefully, 2 eras of construction are clearly visible. It seems that this pyramid was assembled not only from various blocks scattered around, but also from the ruins of some even more ancient structure. The blocks at the bottom are very different from the rubble that is above them. They don't fit together at all. In the next pyramid, in the middle of the soft calcareous rocks is strong. The unit is very strange shape. There was no need for the ancient Egyptians to make grooves in the wall block, and there was simply nothing. We find on ancient Egyptian monuments specific traces of mechanical tools in the form of circular saws. There. Some tubular drills, traces of which have such parameters that we now have a specialist grabbing his head. We cannot repeat it. That is, there is absolutely clear evidence that mechanical tools are used for stone processing. The quality of construction of the main pyramids of Egypt so different from all that has been built much later, that the conclusion is clear. The pharaohs had nothing to do with their construction. The pyramid was not built by the pharaohs 5,000 years ago, but, well, the gods of the pharaohs who flew from the sky. That is, we can consider aliens. St. Petersburg, the embankment opposite the Academy of Arts. In 1800, two sphinxes are installed here. Sculpture imported directly from Egypt. Modern historians call the time of their creation to the reign of Pharaoh Amenhotep I, the middle of the 2nd millennium BC. However, material scientists have great doubts about this date. Two sphinxes that stand in front of the Academy of Arts on the embankment, where the polishing is just perfect. It can be seen that she was originally very, very good. For clarity, Skliarov compared the polishing of the Sphinx and the columns of St. Isaac's Cathedral. There are at least 35 centuries between the technologies and tools of Egyptian and St. Petersburg craftsmen. But look, the polishing of the columns of the 19th century contains numerous risks and scratches. The manufacturing quality of the sphinxes is clearly higher. That is, the one who made these sphinxes, in general, had at least the appropriate tools in terms of hardness, strength. The red granite that was used for these sphinxes is a very hard material. That is, if we start to process the same sphinxes with a bronze tool, we will have the tool worn off. But the sphinx will not be worn off. But the pedestal could well have been made with bronze tools in the time of Amenhotep. Look, the slab has crumbled in places, the hieroglyphs seem to be scratched and have fuzzy edges. Rough scratching is visible. Accordingly, this is a fairly common phenomenon in Egypt when we see a gorgeous statue and with poorly scratched inscriptions. This always arouses suspicion that the statue was made at one time and the inscriptions were not worn at another. Such a discrepancy in the quality of the statue and the inscriptions on it are quite common in Egypt. It turns out that the pharaohs really used the fruits of a much older, highly developed civilization for their needs. I woke up at night and found strange creatures standing around my bed. I couldn't move, and the only thing I felt was a strong discharge of electric current permeating my entire body. The horror that the 50-year-old doctor from London experienced was remembered by him for the rest of his life. To date, thousands of cases of abduction of Earthlings by creatures from other planets have been recorded. What do the aliens need from us? Tatiana Surchenko, one of the few inhabitants of the Earth who personally had a chance to communicate with representatives of the higher mind. Even in her youth, she found herself on board a spaceship. In the late 60s, a young graduate radio institutor worked in one of the Leningrad Research Institute. On the way to work, the girl was abducted by aliens.
Then, in the 60s, there were cars. There were no chisels like the 8, the 9, and there were all cars, like a penny. And such a long car ride's interesting. Cherry, there are dark glasses.
The door of the strange car opened, and an unknown force, like a vacuum cleaner, dragged Tatiana inside. As soon as she crossed the threshold, the girl found herself on a spaceship surrounded by strangely dressed people in silver clothes. A gray-haired man with a kind face showed Tatiana the Earth in a grid with many knots. Only 30 years later, the woman understood the meaning of this conversation.
They said if you would like to make internet TV, participate, make programs amazing measures, I say, come on, it's interesting. And I just think, Mom, dear, it's this bundle. I'm sitting in a bundle.
Tatiana Surchenko devoted most of her life to the study of UFOs and anomalous phenomena. The practice of Eastern meditation and yoga techniques allowed her to personally discover many secrets of the Earth. In 1994 year, Tatiana was among the first Russian tourists in Egypt. By chance, lagging behind her group, she witnessed how the pyramids work.
I saw with my eye such a dark ray. A dark ray, transparent ray from the pyramid goes into the ground. And next to the pyramid of Cheops, which stands, it is made of quartz of the same color as sand. He's like a pillar, you know, so energetically so up. And I grabbed a tape recorder, and now I'm going to record, because I see something. Well, here they are two standing, and one pyramid works up and the other down. And a certain balance of energy, some kind of equilibrium is happening here. And at the same second when I said, the pyramid of Cheops made one, and the pyramid of Chephren made one. Here is such an adventure. 3 rays from 3 pyramids rested upright. And between them, just like that, the ring spun. I was comparing this ring, indeed, as tobacco smoke happens. And here it was spinning. I'm talking about it, and then once. And no, everything is gone.
In 1994 year, this drawing went around all the newspapers and became the occasion for a serious discussion of ufologists around the world. The opinions of most of the scientists coincided. The pillars of light that Tatiana observed were a directed flow of energy. Andriy, an employee of the Biological Monitoring Research Institute, claims that the device of the Great Pyramids is ideal for working as antennas for deep space communications. The pyramid is a really peculiar antenna. It is designed to receive and transmit messages from deep space. And its shape, orientation, and many secrets incomprehensible to historians in the historical aspect are very simply explained by modern radio engineering positions. Temples near the pyramids, rectangular boxes with columns resemble modern capacitors. The long, tangled corridors are actually waveguides. The plugs, allegedly protecting the pharaoh from robbers, with high-frequency filters, the burial chamber with an acoustic resonator. To receive messages, it is necessary that a modulated signal falls on the pyramid from space. The pyramid will concentrate this focus into a burial chamber. There will be a distributed pattern of waves, and we can hear a sound signal. The dimensions of the pyramids and the dimensions of all internal elements are such that we can perceive speech in the sound range. Simply put, the intelligent beings inside such pyramids on different planets can talk like on the phone. Being in Egypt, the medium Tatiana Surchenko managed to tune into the purity of the Sphinx itself. Looking at the giant sculpture, she felt a huge stream of energy. The woman saw the eyes of the Sphinx, which look over the horizon, lowered. The next moment, a voice sounded somewhere deep inside.
Muscles moved inside me. I began to speak in a bass voice like these words, right? I see, Don't ask about yourself. Ask, then, about how everything works. Unique. I even wanted to cry, you know.
The voice of the Sphinx was recorded on a dictaphone. Only 16 years later, Tatiana decided to show this recording to journalists. At the time when Sirius hits my third eye, the angle is 30 degrees to the horizon. At this time, the very source that transmits signals and receives from us is located above my head. We are watching the progress of the Earth's civilization. At this time, Tatiana saw a beam of light and devices similar to the clock face above the head of the Sphinx. In place of the numbers, there were colored glowing screens. At around 9 o'clock, the screen was blue. In the globe displayed on it, the woman recognized the Earth and distinguished golden rays points. Firm which information is being transmitted at the moment.
I asked, is there death, for example? Yes. If. Is there an end to everything? He says that
evolution cannot be stopped. The death of one population revives another.
Is there a beginning of life?
There is, if we understand it as the end. I love you.
The beam of the third peephole goes up, the eyes are blown, he is satisfied.
At this time, the Sphinx's eyes really stopped looking at Tatiana and began to rise up. The woman grabbed the camera
and took a picture at this time. And I put the photos aside later and forgot about it. And only then did I see that he was really looking straight into the lens.
Here are these unique photos. Indeed, the Sphinx's gaze, contrary to usual, is directed exactly at the camera. Tatiana keeps these photos as memories and evidence of the authenticity of that conversation. The phenomenon of automatic writing or psychography is known to all peoples who have a written language. It was in this way that many famous occult treatises and fateful prophecies were written. It is enough to recall the revelation of John the Theologian. It is believed that the higher powers are introduced by the hand of poets and prophets. Is this really the case? This video is almost 20 years old. Leningrad dancer Yulia Pobanina performs an Egyptian dance. No one has ever taught the girl to dance, but she was taken to the variety show group after the first viewing.
And at that time, in general, there were few of us, and we enjoy success in public. A girl who looks spectacular on stage, she is always visible, noticeable.
The career of a professional dancer ended after a serious injury. During one of the performances, Yulia fell and severely injured her knees. In the hospital, as if in a delirium, she picked up a pencil for the first time and began to draw incomprehensible signs.
I said that please write in my hand. Who are you and what are you drawing for me? And they wrote to me that they are humanoids of the higher spheres of consciousness and mind, that they are Syrians, and draw symbols with which alien civilizations communicate with each other.
Since then, communication has been happening regularly. Especially for this film, Julia agreed to demonstrate a communication session with humanoids of the higher spheres. Now she completely relaxes her right hand and turns off consciousness. After a few minutes, symbols and signs appear on a piece of paper.
I drew. First of all, it's a Syrian. He has a star sign on his forehead, and draws them for marking on the ship. Well, plus they also paint them with a special paint on their foreheads, or this sign can also be on clothes. It means a truncated pyramid.
The Sirius civilization took a direct part in the construction of the pyramids of the Earth. Moreover, today they use pyramids, transform the energy of the Earth's core, and direct it into space, in the form of a single information flow. Thus, the aliens observing our planet energize the spaceships within our galaxy and receive information about the processes taking place on Earth.
Now my hand has drawn symbols that I actually know. These are the symbols of the humanoid higher superconsciences of the mind, as can be seen by the sign of energy. Communication is difficult. These two balls, they mean some two intelligent beings who are on different sides. This line here indicates the communication channel.
Surprisingly, many of the signs that Julia draws with automatic writing copy ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. This image is on the wall of one of the ancient temples. On the ancient Egyptian hieroglyph meaning Sirius, a pyramid is depicted next to the sign of a humanoid and a star. During the Soviet Union, the activities of this person were classified. From 1963 to 87, I served in the military space forces of the USSR and took a direct part in the development and testing of many instruments for piloting spacecraft. Among the instruments was a computer where a globe was placed, which allowed astronauts, without looking at the Earth during the flight, to determine their location relative to the Earth's surface. In addition, the same device is allowed at any time to determine in the event of an emergency landing site where they sit in water, on land, or in which country. While developing equipment for space, Vladimir Babinin noticed that over some areas of the Earth, the equipment was malfunctioning for no apparent reason. The interference came from the areas where the pyramids were located. Then the engineer suggested, interference is created by columns of directed energy that periodically appear above the tops of the pyramids. The energy that constantly emanates from the pyramids goes into space, reads the information that comes from our Earth, through the pyramid antennas to other civilizations that are watching us. Well, there are a lot of planets like Earth, and all of them are connected with the help of certain intermediate stations. In encrypted form, the pyramids contain information about substances necessary for biological life. The scientist made such conclusions by analyzing the shape and proportions of ancient structures. If you draw a line through the face, as it is called, the apophthegm, then a corner structure is formed, which almost exactly corresponds to the structure of a water molecule. If a carbon atom is added to a water molecule in the middle, and 4 nitrogen atoms are placed in the corners, the pyramid, like a cheat sheet, will give out all the basic formulas of molecular chemistry. It is difficult to assume that the builders of the pyramids chose such proportions by chance, which means they perfectly possess the knowledge that our civilization has been reaching for more than 3,000 years. The first person immersed in suspended animation was psychology professor James Bedford from Los Angeles. It happened in 1973. After learning that he was dying of lung cancer, Bedford agreed to be frozen in liquid nitrogen and brought back to life when medicine found a vaccine against cancer. Following the professor, 20 more volunteers were frozen, but they all died. But the bodies of saints who lived thousands of years ago still remain incorruptible. It is known that some lamas can put themselves in a state of suspended animation and exist like that for decades. Do they ever live? Kailas, this mountain of Tibet, has been considered sacred since ancient times. Representatives of Buddhism and Hinduism are sure that gods live on its top. In the year 2002, a group of climbers from the Russian Geographical Society made a ritual detour of the mountain. It took about 12 hours of time. During this time, we have grown a 2-week beard for all participants, and, accordingly, nails. That is, it suggests that we're getting old. In other words, our body has lived for 2 weeks, and it only took 12 astronomical hours. At the same time, the clock readings did not differ from the usual ones. It is not surprising, because the devices record only physical time. Anomalies also relate to the biological time of a person. In the Kailas area, it slows down for someone, and for someone it flows faster. The nature of such phenomena becomes clear if you look at Mount Kailas from afar. And this Aaron showed me a photo of the sacred Mount Kailas. I looked at her and immediately cried out, so this is a pyramid. A huge pyramid. And I remembered the words of Elena Blavatsky, who wrote that somewhere in Tibet a huge pyramid was lost. According to Ernst Moldashev, the mountains in Tibet around Kailas are not mountains, but more than 100 man-made pyramids, the most ancient on Earth. Like all pyramids, they are clearly oriented to the cardinal directions, but they are much larger, and may have been built in more ancient times. Now great passions are boiling around this. When, by whom, and for what? In general, oddly enough, it can probably be a young education. Only 5 million years ago, there was a weak plateau with tropical and subtropical vegetation, where elephants and rhinos roamed. Tibetan. Shortly before the invasion of Chinese troops into the territory of Tibet, a helicopter descended from the slope of Mount Kailas. In the nearest village, he addressed passers-by, but no one could understand his speech. Then the villagers took him to the Lama, to the nearest monastery. They talked for a few minutes, after which the elder turned around and went back to the mountain. An unknown traveler communicated with him in a very ancient dialect. The last time such a speech could be heard was more than 500 years ago. The elder came to warn people about the danger. Only thanks to this, it was possible to remove the shrines from the monastery and evacuate people in time. Scanning of Kailas by remote biolocation showed that there are huge cavities inside the mountain. Mount Kailas is intersex. The House of the Happy Stone is intersexual. And many monuments of the legendary city of the gods are intersex. So what else is written in Tibetan texts? Under Kailas, there is a legendary Vara, or in another way, a fenced place, where all the seeds of all living things were preserved. Many researchers consider Kailash to be the most likely location of Shambhala, the legendary land of light, in which all the forces of good are concentrated. Tibetan texts about Shambhala tell of long passages and a heavy stone door, never opened by anyone. Secrets for the future are hidden behind a dark door, but the deadlines have not yet come. I've seen this door. It's about 150 by 200 meters. A huge door. Here is such a recess, smooth and rectangular recess. And the rectangular recess is adjacent to the camera from that side. That's the feeling, as if it was taken down like this. Behind the door, in a state of samadhi, there are the bodies of teachers, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and others who have ever been sent to the world. In the event of the death of civilization, they should serve as the genetic code for the reproduction of mankind. The bodies of teachers who lived thousands of years ago remain unchanged. In 1927th year, the head of the Buddhists of Buryatia, Hambo Lama and Tigalev, gathered disciples, promised to return in 75 years, sat down in the lotus position, and began to recite a prayer. After a while, the teacher stopped showing signs of life. The Lama's body was buried. In the year 2002, according to the will, the box was taken out. Those present at the exhumation were shocked. The body of the Lama was preserved as if it had not lain in the grave for 2 days. Perhaps one of the ways to solve this mystery lies in the very pose of the Lama. Comparing the proportions of a person in the lotus position with the proportions of the pyramids of Egypt, researcher Vladimir Babinin came to an unexpected conclusion. When a person takes this pose, he in fact becomes a pyramid with the top up. At this moment, time slows down for him, and a person, as it were, suspends all functional processes that develop in him in life, as if it turns off the physical body from life. And there remains the soul, which in fact becomes free. But if only enlightened lamas can stop time in meditation, completely unprepared people experience temporary anomalies inside the pyramids. A few years ago, a unique study was conducted at the Research Institute of Virology. Scientists were trying to understand how the pyramid field affects the antiviral activity of immunoglobulin. The results obtained are amazing. The effectiveness of the drug, which was in the pyramid for only a day, increases 100 times. And ordinary water completely changes the molecular structure in a few hours. It becomes healing. Nikas Safronov is a famous artist. While traveling in Egypt, he persuaded the guides to take him to one of the pyramids closed to tourists. And they left me there and just mixed up the outfit. Another one was supposed to come pick me up, and he just overslept, let's say, and forgot or got lost this order for Nikas to pick me up here, and I spent 3 days like this. The artist remembered these 3 days for the rest of his life. Trying to get out of the tomb on his own, he got lost. For several hours Nikas wandered in the maze. Suddenly he was facing a strange figure. People with animal heads were like the gods of ancient Egypt. At first it was curious, then it was scary, then it didn't matter. And then you lived in the midst of it. There were some sphinxes, some with dog heads, with cats. I could actually feel them. It seemed to me that I could touch them. Nikas understood that he had fallen into a parallel world. The situation seemed hopeless. Suddenly, a small kitten ran out of the darkness to him. To see an earthly being was a great joy. Safronov followed him and soon saw the exit from the pyramid. Indeed, a cat, a certain mystical being, brought me outside. The kitten is small, who lives safely in Moscow. The Savior. Once upon a time, it was in this pyramid that one of the most secret and closed rituals associated with immortality was held. An ancient papyrus from the time of Ramses II describes the sacrament in this way. Shortly before his death, the pharaoh was buried in a huge sarcophagus inside the pyramid. The ritual was led by a high priest with the head of a beast. Using the 7 keys of eternity, he separated the essence of body, soul, and spirit. The soul went into space, but the spirit remained in the tomb not far from the body. Later, with the help of a magical ritual, he again united with the body and renewed spirit. The details of this rite are unknown. The priests managed to stop time. Ancient sources claim that the gods drank the water of immortality to prolong life. To produce such water, the priests used temporary anomalies of the pyramids. If you put water with microbes in a pyramid, then all the microbes will die, that is, they do not have time to give offspring. Because time is stretched, the water from the top of the pyramid became dead. Its properties are comparable to the disinfecting effect of alcohol or boric acid. The water in the chamber below ground level was considered to be alive. Time in this part of the pyramid is accelerating, and water acquires healing properties. Today, the existence of living and dead water is confirmed by academic medicine. The technological installation for its production was invented at the Research Institute of Medical Technology. Through slightly salted water, the scientists passed an electric current of 10 amperes. Everything is made of titanium with a special coating. We connect the plus to the inner tube. The reactor is standing vertically. We have an entrance here. The water rises, saturates, and exits from here. Under the influence of an electric current, it is saturated with superactive compounds here. The living water with the name catalyte heals any wounds and ulcers. Dead water, or scientifically analyte, can easily replace disinfectants and detergents. Ancient pyramids store knowledge that is just beginning to be revealed to modern scientists. May 30th, 1971. An automatic station Mariner 9 has been launched from the American Canaveral Cosmodrome to Mars. During the year, the device transmits thousands of photographs of the red planet to Earth. Some of them become a sensation. A whole field of quadrangular pyramids has been discovered in the area of the Elysee Plateau. In the report, our experts called them the city of the Incas. Disputes around the lunar pyramids do not subside either. In October of the 2008 year, the Indian probe Chandrayaan-1 transmitted from the Moon to Earth a photograph of a pyramid with faces of about 4 kilometers. Researchers hypothesize that together with the pyramids of the Earth, these pyramids form a single network. Although they say that this hypothesis is crazy, but is it crazy enough? Is it a rule of physicists to be correct? Scientists consider it quite possible to transfer information between planets by a light beam over ultra-long distances. This is how numerous fiber optic networks work on Earth. They link together millions of computers, billions of gigabytes of data move around the globe every second. Go beyond the atmosphere via satellites. Light is the fastest and most capacious channel. Rays emanating from UFOs or pyramids transmit information about the Earth. There is a famous painting of the Annunciation by Carl Crivelli in the London Gallery. The Archangel informs the Virgin Mary that Jesus Christ will be born to her. The Archangel in this picture is on the street with his back to the Virgin Mary, and the Virgin Mary is in the building. And there's a flying saucer in the sky. And the beam, like a laser, goes from this flying saucer through the dormer window and into the head of the Virgin Marina. The painting was painted in 1494th year. How could an artist of the 19th century, who had never seen an airplane, rocket, or any other man-made flying object, have such an image? It is likely that the Annunciation of Crivelli is only a repetition of some much older plot. The Earth is under continuous control. The image of a pyramid with an eye has been present on monuments, residential buildings, and a temple since time immemorial to this day. St. Petersburg historian Anastasia Eliseva likes to walk around the historical center of the city with binoculars. Surprisingly, people do not notice what is in the most prominent place. For example, the pyramid is depicted above the main entrance of the Kazan Cathedral.
This sign is a triangle with an eye in the middle and with a glow. If you see Egyptian symbols in it, then it is the eye of the god Horus. who gave his eye to his father Osiris so that he would be saved. If this sign is interpreted as a Christian symbol, then the triangle is a symbol of the three-unity of God. And if this sign is interpreted as a Masonic symbol, then this is a pyramid with an eye at the top. Then this is the all-seeing eye of the leader, who sees everything and controls all human actions.
Exactly the same symbol greets all parishioners of the Smolny Cathedral. The image of a triangle with an eye is in all ancient religions. Numerous signs on the monuments and cemeteries suggest that the pyramids are in control of not only the earth, but also the afterlife. Information is collected and analyzed in the depths of space. The time will come and conclusions will be made. A triangle with an eye can be seen on a $1 bill and even on Ukrainian hryvnia. Pyramids are the most mysterious structures on our planet. It is said that when the secrets of the pyramids are revealed, the end of the world will come. But there is another opinion. It is in them that the knowledge that will save humanity from the apocalypse is hidden. You have watched Fantastic Stories with Sergei Druzhko.